Pandyssia, the far continent shrouded in mystery, rumor, and danger. In Dishonored, it makes up almost all of the world's landmass, even though nearly nothing is known about it. The isles are tiny and distant in comparison. Even expensive maps and globes routinely misrepresent both the size and location of Pandyssia, perhaps out of a desire to maximize the supposed importance of the Empire. After all, civilization is known to exist solely on these 4 islands. But why? And what is the nature of the great continent? Pandyssia is at least a month's journey from the Isles by fast ship, and is thought to be a place of vast deserts and jungles. Although the coastline, with red cliffs, hidden reefs, and jagged rocks, is relatively well mapped, the interior is uncharted but for some rivers and mountain ranges. But it's so large that all conceivable climates must be represented there in one area or another. Numerous island chains stretch out from the mainland, allowing small foothold settlements from the isles that never seem to grow larger. The Pandyssian continent is home to a vast array of flora and fauna unknown to the isles. The Academy of Natural Philosophy has attempted to research this wildlife, though with limited success and at great cost of lives. Perhaps the best-known Pandyssian plant is the red or amber oxrush flower, which grows well in muddy areas. Native to southern Pandyssia, it has been transplanted to Bristol. It's a key ingredient in antitoxins such as that made by Nurse William Trimble, is in high demand among alchemists, and is used in tattoo ink. Oxrush can be found adorning the upstairs of the Boyle estate during the Masquerade Ball. More exotic Pandyssian spices are used to flavor King Street brandy. Animal life on Pandyssia is even more alien, and frequently deadly. Both Anton Sokolov and Luigi Galvani have made extensive studies of the great Pandyssian bull rat. It is both much larger and more intelligent than ordinary rats, and is believed to be the main carrier of the infamous rat plague. The popular song, Death in the Month of Songs, names the plague a disease from the east. There is a spot marked on a map of Pandyssia along a river network indicating the possible source of the plague. There have also been reports of flying serpents, and Piero Joplin describes reading about land-going whales deep in the interior.
One Sir Conan Guard mentions having once seen an animal brought from Pandyssia resembling some kind of bear or ape.
Big game hunters daring to travel there use large-caliber, long-barreled rifles called jezzails to hunt such beasts. There have also been stories of a great beast larger than any whale or even the largest ship built by humans, lurking in the ocean between the isles and the far continent. A behemoth, a devourer that attacks ships leaving few survivors, it is said by some to have massive tentacles, and some ancient ruins appear to have carvings depicting it. Some say it's not real, others swear otherwise. In the month of Earth, sometime around 1808, Anton Sokolov launched a research expedition to Pandyssia aboard the great ship Antonia Aquilo to catalog the wildlife, bringing along several colleagues and Academy students. His multi-volume memoir, A Reflection on My Journey to the Pandyssian Continent, does not even arrive at Pandyssia until chapter 14. But tragedy struck even before landfall. Half the crew of 38 died before sighting the Red Cliffs, partly due to winds tossing men overboard, but also schools of fish covered in venomous quills that jumped from the water onto the deck. Upon reaching the mainland, they met shallow reefs that required pulling the ship ashore. But the sailors sent to this task were attacked by poisonous eels whose bites caused pain, then paralysis and death. Later, one researcher named Mr. Gravitt was stung by a swarm of aggressive ant-like creatures, so much so that he was swollen into deformity before succumbing. But Sokolov was pleased to obtain several of the creatures that still clung to his corpse. Finally, the ship's captain was killed by a mole-like animal when he picked it up, eager for some meat after living on fish and rations for so long. It stung him from a gland hidden in its tail, and he died of asphyxiation 15 minutes later. Sokolov himself then took command of the expedition, simply to get back to the Isles alive. Every so often, the Empire makes an attempt to colonize Pandyssia. Multiple attempts to build a port city to rival Dunwall in order to establish trade and exploit the continent's vast resources have all failed. Only a few merchant outposts along the outer fringes have hung on. High Overseer Scott Grafton made the first attempt to penetrate the continent to fight against the heresies supposedly practiced there. He contracted rat plague and was cremated along with a relic called Holger's Opal. Other expeditions end in madness. One such was the voyage of Preston and Vera Moray, sometime around 1807. The aristocratic couple traveled frequently to the far ends of the Isles, but on this trip to Pandyssia they discovered ancient cave paintings and carvings hinting at outsider worship. They found runes and bone charms which they brought back, and it was here that Vera first encountered and was marked by the outsider, the boy with the black eyes. She also contracted a disease, different from the rat plague, which lurked in her for several years before sickening her in 1810. She spent time at the Addermeyer Institute before pretending to get better, but gradually lost her sight and sanity, and killed her husband in order to boil his bones and make runes. If little is known about Pandyssia itself, almost nothing at all is known about its people. The whole map of the continent contains only one label on the far eastern coast showing possible inhabitants. Rumors abound of primitive sub-men engaging in heretical rituals. Ancient temple ruins and carvings have been discovered implying worship of the outsider or some other void entity. One vague mention of a carving warns of some monster whose immortality is bound to a sacred object, which a hero figure destroys in order to slay the monster. Vera Moray learned of this and was inspired to somehow achieve the same, using a cameo of herself as a young girl, which Corvo must destroy in order to defeat her. Off the mainland, there are chains of inhabited islands. Though Billy Lurk was born and raised in Dunwall, one of her parents was a native of this place. The heart also reveals that
Pendleton ships come back from the Pandyssian continent, crowded with war-frightened captives,
implying a slave trade which feeds their mining operations. Developer Harvey Smith, despite his odd quest to erase any records of developer commentary, has been quoted as imagining the inhabitants of Pandyssia to be a fallen older culture that was once great, maybe albinos. Together, all this information reveals that Pandyssia likely once had at least one ancient civilization capable of building temples and traveling the ocean, but is now fallen. Given the small size of the Isles, it seems unlikely that humans evolved there independently, so it can be hypothesized that humanity in this world developed first on Pandyssia, then at some distant point in history spread across the ocean. The heart calls the rat plague the doom of Pandyssia. Did a once great civilization thrive there long ago, only to fall victim to the same plague? Were the first inhabitants of the Isles in fact refugees from this cataclysm, or perhaps themselves colonists, distant enough to survive the downfall? Perhaps only the outsider knows.